Yes.
Okay, now you good.
Alrighty again, I think. Good evening to everybody. Thank you all for making it. Please eat up. We certainly don't want to have to take any of this food home with us. So want you all to eat as much as you can. I guess it's like a regular buffet. Anybody remember the signs at the different buffets? Take all you want, but eat all you take. Y'all remember them signs? I guess only old people. Young people, all y'all know is Starbucks. Okay. I want to say thank you all for giving us the week off last week. We had a really good time. First Lady and I left last Monday. Went to the Branson area, stayed up there for the week. Had a really good time. As much as I love you all, I got to say I was a little bit depressed when we had to come back to church. I mean, I love Jesus. I really do. But a bad vacation is better than a good day at work. Anytime we can get away, it's excellent. I encourage you all. Rest is important. Remember, we were talking about the physical man. And one of the things that we discounted a lot was the ability to rest. God's people just want to go and go and go and go and go. Sooner or later, you need to pause. If God took a day to rest, He requires us to do the same thing. So, I know we do a lot of good work and great work here at the church, but every now and then you need to stop and relax, rest, allow your body to rejuvenate. Time to reflect, to thank God for all of the good things that He's done. So we rested on last week, so we took the week off as far as Bible study. We are back, came back on Sunday and ministered to the people. Thank God for that. And now we are here getting back into the swing of things for Bible study. So we've been talking about ministering to the whole man, right? What are the three different parts of the whole man that we have been talking about?
Spiritual, financial.
The spiritual man, the financial man, and the whole man. The physical man, right? So let's put them in the right order. The spiritual man, the physical man, the financial man. Why is the spiritual man first?
Most important.
Oh, most important. I thought you said, what's the point? I was going to say, spiritual man is most important because what good is it to be in good shape or good financial shape and die and go to hell? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and His righteousness, everything else will be added. That's number one. And then the physical man, remember the Bible says that God have given you the power to get wealth, or He has given you health to get wealth. So there cannot be any wealth if there is no health, even if it's just mental health. A lot of us work and we don't do a lot of physical work, but we do a lot of intellectual work, but your mind still have to be right. You still have to be in a good place in order to be able to work. So we broke it down into spiritual, physical, financial. We spent many weeks on spiritual. We spent several on physical, and now we are on the financial. Now, I do expect to be on financial longer than any other section. We spoke and we talked about the scriptures. The scriptures actually have more to talk about finances than it does prayer and salvation. I believe that's relevant. Most of us do understand when you accept Jesus Christ, you accept Jesus Christ, and that takes every bit of, let's say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Once you learn who Jesus is, what's the matter? Is it pausing? Is it acting up? you all keep me informed. Let me know. We should have that booster in here, but if we need to change devices, we can do that. It only takes 5 minutes. Let's say 5 minutes to get saved. Romans chapter 10, verse 8, 9, and 10 says, confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised Jesus from the dead, you shall be saved. If you can truly wrap your mind around all of that, salvation happens really in an instant. But then you still got to live life. Years. Many people get saved who have grown up in church. You understand, you believe Jesus, you get saved 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's say 16 years old you get saved. And then you live to be 76. You got 60 years to live and hopefully try to live a good life. Brothers and sisters, I think there ought to be a period of time where you work, and there ought to be a period of time where you retire, where you can give more. But most of us are working to our last days and dying a year or two after we retire because we can't take time off. We can't take the time to go out and live and enjoy life and have the finances because we didn't learn about finances. We didn't learn how to invest, how to protect our wealth, how to build assets. All of these things we didn't learn, so we wait till the very, very last minute to try to get some understanding of finances, and now you're 75, 76 years old giving out buggies at Walmart. And I'm not dissing nobody who's doing that. Some people do that because they just don't want to be sitting at home not doing anything. But believe me, there's enough work at the church that you could be busy all day long. So that's the reason why I think we're going to spend or will spend more time, because one thing that I've noticed is that finances is not taught, I don't think, biblically enough. Either they overteach it, which means they are stressing money in the church to try to get people to give more money. And I don't think that's the purpose. When God is talking about finances, I don't think it's necessarily to try to get you to give more, as it is if God can get you more, then by default, you will give more. It's not to drain every penny out of the poor people. It is to make you rich so that when you give, it won't hurt you. Everybody, you hear the preacher say, give till it hurts. I think you ought to give till it feel good. If it's hurting you, then there's something wrong. If that makes any sense. So, right. Don't give it grudgingly. Give it with a good heart. Give cheerfully. But I mean, how many of us have said, Lord, I got this bill that's due, but I'm going to sacrifice and I'm going to give you this money even though I got a bill due. I get it. The sacrificial offering. But we shouldn't be in that position. We should never be in a position where we don't have what we need. I guarantee you that if you sit down and talk with me about you not being able to give, I can show you some areas that can be improved on in your finances that will help you to be able to give where it won't hurt you, and your giving will bring a return. God always promises, no matter what you give, He says, give and it shall be given unto you. That's Luke chapter 6 and 38, if I'm not mistaken, right? Give and it shall be given unto you, good measures pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Everybody always takes that for money. But that's not always money. He says, give and it. What is it? Whatever you gave. So whatever you sow, you are going to reap. And whatever you sow, you are going to reap more than you sow. Nobody plants 3 seeds and get 3 seeds back. Amen. If you plant 3 seeds you'll get a whole tree or a whole stalk or whatever it is that you are planting. You will get a harvest of that. If you plant 4 or 5 tomato seeds, you get a vine with 10, 15 tomatoes on it. Each tomato has 100 seeds. So you always get more than what you sow. That's the law of reciprocity. So, with that being said, we went over a whole lot of things before. I'm not going to go through all of those, but because we had stopped on the financial principles, I want to go back and just talk, or not talk about, list the ones that we had done thus far. We had talked about planned giving, financial principles that are biblical. First principle was God owns it all. We need to stop saying, this is my money, this is my house, my car, my whatever. There is no mine. Psalms 24 says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein, and blah, blah, blah. Everything belongs to God, even you. So when you look in, quote unquote, your pocket and pull out your money, remember it ain't your pocket. It ain't your money. These are not your kids. These are God's children. And you are just a manager of God's children. Be careful what you do with God's kids. Brothers and sisters who have children, remember God gave you the ability to have those children. He gave them to you to raise them up in the way that they should go. He said, be careful whatever you're doing to my least ones. Whatever you do to my least ones, you're doing to me. You raise those kids opposite of what God had intended for them. You got to give an account for that. Boy, y'all better do right. I got 4, and I had to raise them up into Jesus, real good, real fast. Because you understand that you are responsible for their salvation, and until they get saved, all of the sins of the children fall on the parent. Y'all, as much sin as I was doing, I couldn't afford theirs. So I had to get them saved and hitched up with Jesus real quick so that they could get off my balance sheet. It was too much for me. And if they was anything like their mother, I know they was going to be sending I just want to see if she was woke. If they were anything like their daddy, I know there was going to be a whole lot of sin in the house. So they're all good now. Everybody is on their own. Principle number 1, God owns it all. Let's move. Principle number 2, giving is essential. It is necessary. Giving is the result of understanding what it means to live a life of stewardship. For God so loved that he gave. You can love without, or you can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. If you love God, you will give. That's just a matter of your heart. Principle number 3. The Bible backs savings. Saving is important. Many of us, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. When I die, I want to die empty. Yes, but you don't know when you're going to die. So don't spend everything you have today thinking that you might be dead tomorrow. Because sooner or later you keep thinking that you will, because you will starve to death. Yes, God will give you enough food for the day, but don't spend everything that you have right now. There is a principle when it comes to saving. Proverbs 21 verse 20 says, the wise man saves for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever he gets. We need to be careful because many of us are not saving. All it takes is one bad move. Something happens. Your tires go flat. Your washer and dryer goes out. The refrigerator. One bad thing, and that takes everything that we have. What little bit of money, quote unquote, because most of us don't have the proper amount of money to save. The good stewardship says that, rule of thumb, you ought to have in a savings account 3 months of your income. So whatever you make, if you make $3,000 a month, just for savings, before you start investing in anything, you should have $9,000 set aside. If anything happens, that it won't destroy you. Most of us, 3 months of our income will put us in a good place to where if something happens, it won't totally break us and put us in a place. Because do you know that your finances can make your mind spin? Many people are depressed, anxiety, and money has a lot to do with it. So if we did things properly, we wouldn't have to worry about that. Principle number 4, keep out of debt. Now, let me stop here for a second, because even though in my house, I try to talk about stewardship, financial literacy is very important. So I talk to my family all the time about money and what we want to do, and financial literacy and financial legacies, so that we can have generational wealth and all of that. But even in my home, my wife and I was having a conversation this past week, and we were talking about debt. And I said I wanted us to get out of debt. In her mind, what she heard was that we are in a very bad position financially, as in the word debt meant that we were in a detrimental state. And that's not what I was saying. Many of us are talking to each other and we are using English words, but we are saying something different. Yes, sir.
So about that, I believe that there's a good side and a bad side of that. Because if you kind of think about it, Trump has a lot of debt, but he also has a lot of money.
The statement was made, and let's think about this. So I'm glad that he said that. The statement was made that there's like good debt and bad debt. What is debt? If you look at the definition of debt says that basically you had some sort of credit, which means you did not have enough money to purchase something outright. You had to borrow money, and now when you borrowed the money, that put you in debt. The Bible says those who are in debt is slave to the lender, which is why God said, I want you to be the lender and not the borrower. So in man's place, if we listen to man, then man tells us there is a good debt and a bad debt. If the Bible says, owe no man anything, now at that time, we have to put things in context. God is talking about honoring man, honoring your father, your mother. If somebody does something good, thank them then. Don't owe them that thanks later. Give them their praises. That's why you people say, give me my flowers while I can smell them. But the problem when we talk about debt is we would like to act like there is quote unquote good debt. Most of us, the average house right now, brothers and sisters, you can look up. 3 years ago, the average house was approximately, especially in the St. Louis greater metropolitan area, about $90,000. The average house right now in the St. Louis area is about $175,000. It has doubled. That's great on one end, bad on the other. It's bad when it's great if you're selling, it's bad if you're buying. But most people who are selling have to buy. Everybody wanted to sell their house as soon as the price went up, until they realized they wouldn't have nowhere to stay after they sold it. So you could sell your house, but now you still got to go out and buy another one, and that house went up by 50% or 100% too. So, how many of us got $90,000 then to just go and say, I want this house, I'll take it, here's a check, cashier's check, or you can count out all these ones and these quarters and everything else until you get to 90,000. Right? Nobody has that. But should we? We really should. There's nothing wrong. Somebody told us that you can't. But why can't you? I won't even go into the average car right now is especially for a new car, $40,000. You would get a $40,000 car with a 5-year note. Most of the banks are doing 60 months, which is 5 years, or 66 or 72. Some of them now are even going as much as 7 years on the car note. But it used to be the max was 5, but they wanted you to do it in 4. Everything is changing. But you could get a $40,000 car with a 4-year note. But in order to buy a $95,000 house, they wanted you to take a 30-year mortgage. Why? The system is set up to make everybody else money but you. And then they tell you that they're going to give you a break by allowing you to write off all of the interest on your taxes. With an $800 mortgage, the first 5 or 6 years, do you know that practically 95% of your mortgage payment is going to straight interest? You're not even touching the principal. You might put $1 on your principal for every payment that you send in the first few years. If you don't believe me, you can pull it up. Whenever you buy a house, they give you what's called an amortization schedule. That is how your payments are going to be distributed between the principal and the interest. What's the matter, baby? See, my daughter said, would you please speak English? I'm speaking English. People who deal with money understand these terms all day long. But because we don't deal with money, we don't understand them. We don't know about I equals PRT. What are you talking about? Interest equals principal times rate times time. Don't worry about writing it down, honey. We'll talk about it later. But these are some of the fundamentals when they talk about the rule of 72. All of these bankers and banks understand the rule of 72 or the principle of 12. What is the interest rate that they give you in order for your money to double? They are doubling your money roughly every 2 to 3 months. The bank is doubling your money. But you get an interest rate of less than 1%. And you're supposed to be happy in your savings account. If you get a CD, they might give you a CD with 4%. But then you can't touch it. You cannot touch your money for 4 years or 5 years while you have it in that CD. Your money ain't going to double with 4% or 5%. Think about it. If you put $2,000, 10% of $2,000 is $200. So 5% is half of that. That's $100. You put $2,000 into an account with a 5% CD. In 4 years, you're going to have $100. Congratulations. But they done took your $2,000, they done cut it up like drug dealers and done sent it out. And they charging people 12%, 14%, 19% on a credit card on your money that you getting 1% on. Who pimping who? That's the reason why they don't want you to know about your money. Anybody ever went to the bank to pull a large amount of money out and they say you didn't call us in advance? Some banks require you, if you're going to pull out most of y'all probably ain't got enough money to protect. When y'all go, it's easy to get $10. But if you want to pull out $5,000 or $6,000, you have to call them in advance because that money ain't there. You said, but I got money in the bank. Yeah, but your money is being distributed all over the place. So if you want to take out over $1,500, some banks require you to call them 24 hours in advance so that they can make sure the money is there for you. Yes, ma'am.
David Fisher said, the goal is to keep the uneducated poor while the educated get richer.
Absolutely. The goal is to keep the uneducated poor while the educated get richer. I do not want to make this into black or white. I do not want to make this into Republican or Democrat. But you have to look at the overall theme and find out where is the money. Anybody ever watched the movie, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker? Rush Hour. Chris Tucker said, follow the rich white man. Because there's always a rich white man waiting to get his cut. Not trying to be funny, but if you look most often, we all know, for the most part, that the wealth gap between black and white in America is like 4 to 5 times. In other words, in the course of a lifetime, the average white person will make 400 to 500% over what you will make. Sometimes it has to do with education, but a lot of times it has to do with the foundation. My father spoke and told us when they were baling hay and cotton and all of that, they would make $11,000 for that year, and we're talking about a family of 9. But the people who they were working for, the white man on the plantation that they was working, he was making off of them $95,000 to $100,000 in the 50s, which would equivalent right now to $500,000. They were making every year off of my parents, and more so my dad and his brothers and sisters and my grandparents. And they wouldn't even give them nothing in exchange. They would tell them, hey man, we loaned you this money and you almost made it out of debt this year. But out of the kindness of my heart, I'm going to loan you this amount of money again next year so that you can plant these seeds and hopefully you make it out. Brothers and sisters, that's when they talk about the free labor and all of that of slavery, that's why nobody wants to talk about reparations. But they said we couldn't afford reparations. And then what did they do? They gave $2 trillion to everybody in America over 2020 and 2021 with stimulus packages and COVID money. Well, in America, the black population makes up roughly 13.7% of the population. What if they decided to take the $2 trillion and just divide it amongst the 13.7%, not 100% of the population? They can do it. Don't tell me what you can't do. They said people can't, we need you at work. You have to be at work every day. COVID hit, they said, stay home, work from home. We've been trying to work from home for the last 6 years. Y'all told us we couldn't. But now you see we can. They'll tell you just as much what Mr. David Fisher said. The idea is to keep you ignorant. So God says, my people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. It's not just biblical knowledge that we are destroyed on, because most of us know the Bible. Oh, yes, I know there are 66 books in the Bible. I know it starts with Genesis, it ends with Revelations. I know the Old Testament ends with Malachi, New Testament ends or begins with Matthew, and Jesus is the overall theme, and the overall theme is love, and you know the Bible, but you don't know nothing about your money. And then they say prosperity is a bad word in the church now. All of these preachers preaching this prosperity gospel, like that's a bad thing. If it was so bad, then why did, in the 3rd book of John, why did God says, beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. If prosperity was a bad thing, then he wouldn't wish above all things that you would be bad. That just don't make any sense. But this is what Satan is telling the church, and he's doing it through the pulpit. He done told some preacher, because that preacher left a church because I done talked to 3 people or 2 people. I done talked to multiple folks, but I was talking to folks about money in the church. And 2 people out of 2 conversations said, well, I went to a church where they took 6 offerings. Okay, I'm sorry. Did they know any better? Maybe they didn't know no better. We take one offering with our offering envelope, and then they got, anybody got an envelope in here? They got tithes, offering, building fund, children's ministry, mission ministry. They got 18 things on there that you can give to, and then if that ain't enough, they got other. Listen, there are so many things that you can give to. Maybe that church decided we're going to have one time for tithes. You all remember when we used to have tithes and offering? Then we would have, we took an offering for Sunday school. Then we had the poor saint offering. We just did away with it. But that don't mean that we were a bad church because we had 3 different offerings. Now, if I told you each time I wanted you to give your tithes every time, your tithes is $100. So you got to give $300 a day because I'm taking your tithes 3 times. Yeah, something wrong with that. Maybe the second time I did tithes because I knew some of y'all was lying and you didn't give your tithes. So I'm going to give you another chance. But there are churches where people have gotten the wrong idea. They've been taught the wrong thing. So they've been given bad information. Now that church leaves, or that church splits, or people leave the church, and they go to a church where we ain't going to talk about money at all. And y'all having church in a dark sanctuary because you ain't got no lights, because you didn't pay your bill, because you don't want the people's money. Well, hey, hopefully God has blessed you well enough to where you can cover all of the bills in the church by yourself. Everybody got to have a lighter, you know, and they're going to waive the... Hopefully now you also have insurance for when you burn the church down. There's nothing wrong with prosperity in the church, but my people are destroyed because of the lack of knowledge. The most that we don't know about is finances. We went through. Does everybody know who Jesus is? Yes. Do you know who his mama is? Yes. Do you know who his daddy was? Yes. Do anybody know any of his brothers or sisters? What day was Jesus born on? Or what day did we celebrate it on? What day did we celebrate the resurrection on? And everybody know that. But then I say, what's your interest rate on your bank account? Most people in here have no clue. I get interest. But because you got $6 in there, you can't see interest on $6. Especially when you get 0.01% on it. It would take you 10 years to make 25 cents. What's going on with the GDP? You mean Kirk Franklin? No, not. Many people don't understand when I'm talking about GDP. I ain't talking about Kirk Franklin. I'm talking about the gross domestic product. You say IRS, everybody want to change their name. I don't know who the some of y'all, we got problems. But if I could get everybody in here to understand their money, to understand how things are working with their finances, your life would be so different. They took a recent poll and they found out that 80% of the marriages that are in trouble is due to finances. Not infidelity, finances. And over 50% of marriages, even in the church, end in divorce. And it's not over infidelity, it's finances. Finances will put you in a really bad place. It's stressful. It causes your anxiety levels. It causes you to snap real quick. So when somebody asks you about, hey, did that bill get paid? How did the bill get paid? Did you bring any money for the bill get paid? I ain't got no bill money. You ain't brought no bill money home. I ain't got no bill money to spend. Well, what's for dinner? Did you bring any dinner money home? We got bologna like we had yesterday. Principle number 4, keep out of debt. But most of us, here is a sad reality. Most of us are in debt because we are living outside of our means. We spend more than what we make. You should never spend more than what you make. But because we are trying to live like somebody else, brothers and sisters, if I was to take a poll and look at the majority of our attire, most of us have clothes on with a name. Most of us are wearing shoes that are somebody's name brand. They are Adidas, Nike, I don't even know, Fila's, and you know, when I was growing up, if you had on Pumas, those were that was for poor people. But now Pumas done made it, and if you had some Chuck Taylors, man, Chuck Taylors was sold at Kmart for $15. Now for a pair of Chucks, it's $100 plus. That's the same thing. That's the Chuck Taylor. The Converse All-Stars. But listen, we got out of slavery so that nobody would be able to put their name on our backs any longer. And as soon as we got out of slavery, as soon as we got us some money, the first thing we did was put somebody's name on our back all over again. So we got out of poverty, and the majority of the people who we are making rich don't deserve our money and our backing. You all, I'm probably going to say some things right now that might get some people to stop watching us. But yeah, I guess it wouldn't be the first time. We got people who was watching us, and I went to go and see them, and I found out we ain't even friends on Facebook no more. They like, not only did they leave the church, but they unfriended us too because of things that I was saying. But I'm only to the best of my ability, I will only teach the truth as the Word of God says it. Jesus says, first to the Jews, then to the Gentiles. Somebody look that up. Never mind. I'll look it up myself because last time I said that everybody was lost. First to the Jews, then unto the Gentiles.
Romans 2:10. That was Romans 2:10, I believe.
Okay, so Romans 2:10. Let's look at that. But if it's in Romans, Jesus said it, but Paul said it. First of all scripture is given by inspiration of God and profitable for doctrine. But I want to read to you the words out of Jesus' mouth. Jesus says, go into Jerusalem, Judea, and the uttermost parts. That's what he said when he was departing from them. What he said was, go to your own people first. Then to the people that's close around you. Then go out. In other words, he would say to us, go to Ferguson, then to Berkeley, then to Chesterfield. Don't leave your house and go to Chesterfield. One of the things that we are talking to the people on the mission boards and all of that, they want to take all of the money and send it over to Africa, but you got Africans right here. You will take your money to say that you are doing a good mission work for the Lord, and you will send your money overseas, but there are people right across the street from you who's suffering and broke and don't have any food, and you'll walk past them to take your money to the mailbox to send thousands of miles away. That don't make sense. But first to the Jews, and then unto the Gentiles. Romans what?
2:10.
Yeah, I'm talking to y'all. I know. So, I'm going to put this into perspective. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. For there is no respect of persons with God. Now, he said there's no respect of persons, but he said go to the Jews first, right? Then into the Gentile. Go to Matthew chapter 28. Man, I feel like I'm finna get into some trouble. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. Praise the Lord. Okay. So, Acts chapter 1. Acts chapter 1. Matthew is the end, and Matthew, Jesus is giving them his departing words, right? Go ye into all of the nations, baptizing them and all of that. I'll be with you, lo, unto the end of all the earth, right? Acts chapter 1 is basically the conclusion of Jesus leaving, and he's getting ready to go up into the heavens. This is his ascension. So in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, this is Jesus talking, and he says, but you shall receive power after the Holy Ghost has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and the uttermost parts of the earth. So once again, he has given them their marching orders in order. Don't go to the uttermost parts of the earth and you leaving from where you from and don't tell them first. Does that make sense? Okay. If that makes sense, black people are 13.7% of the population of the United States. But we spend the majority of the money, and the majority of the money that we spend does not circulate in our own community. The majority of our money leaves our community and goes to the Asian community and the white community and even the Jewish community. And our dollar circulates in their arenas 7-8 times, but in the black community, your dollar circulates 1 for 1. So what am I saying? I'm not saying to be selfish. I'm not saying to be racist or prejudicial. But if you're going to take your money and spend it on somebody else's clothes, And a lot of the people who we're spending our money on is telling us after they done made all the money, we don't want you in our clothes. Mr. Hill figure, you got rich on the back of blacks and then later say, I don't want them in my clothes. They're talking about Gucci and all of this other kind of, the folks who got a problem with you wearing their stuff, but the reason why they got the money that they got is because we bought it. What if you took as much money as you put on Nikes and you put it into the church? Now, don't start tripping like, oh, see, he telling us don't buy Nike so that he could take the money. No, I'm just saying, what could we do that would be better served in our own communities with that money that we're putting on somebody else's back? Because we are making other people generational wealth while you're taking the wealth out of your generation. So somebody else is getting fat money while everybody in your house is getting lean. Get out of debt. Stay out of debt. Stop trying to live above your means. If you can't afford to go to a certain neighborhood just because that's where them people went to, you don't got to go to where them people. Make your neighborhood good. But keep your neighborhood clean. Keep all the drugs out of your neighborhood. Stop taking all the house parties and being loud and every last one of your cars is leaking oil and antifreeze in your driveway and it look bad when you pull out. All your cars is on blocks. All your cars got newspaper around the windshield because all of them been bust out. Duct tape holding up everything on your car. There's a reason why they don't want us in their neighborhood. And then when we leave out them neighborhoods, we get mad when we see us coming. So we want to do the Christmas dinner back over your house because I don't come over my house. First time I moved into one of the good neighborhoods, my family came over, half my jewelry came up missing. That ain't no lie, that's a real story. I'm still looking for my rings. I wish one of them would wear it by accident. We finna go back to game, baby. I'm finna start throwing up signs and it's. Some people see red. I see gold. Gold and diamonds. That's the ring I've been missing. My daddy gave me that dog already. Anyway, all right. Y'all, get out of debt. Jesus, help us. Shut up. How come every week I gotta tell you? If borrowing has put you into bondage, there is a way to get out. Decide today that you will not go one more dollar into debt. Statistics show that people spend nearly 1/3 more when they use a credit card or a debit card than when they use cash. Statistics show that people spend nearly 1/3 more when they use credit or debit cards than when they use cash. It's easier to swipe it because your mind didn't equivalent swiping it to the money going out. And more people spend more when it's credit than debit. Because credit is borrowed money. Oh, I'll pay that off at the end of the month, and then something else comes up, I'll just put 20 on it. Many of us are in trouble because we are using debt, and debt equals bondage. Now you are slave to the job. Because many of us are working jobs that we don't like, but we do it because we have to in order to pay the bills that we put ourselves under. And now we have to work overtime. Mothers, fathers, brothers and sisters, love your children. But there's a lot of people right now that's getting ready to go into some major debt to buy their kid a Christmas present that they're going to tear up 1 week later. I'm not going to mess up nobody's idealisms, but you need to make sure your kid knows that there was Jesus before there was Santa Claus. And Jesus is the real reason for the season. Talk to your kids, but don't go into all of this extra debt. Because a lot of people go into debt right now that it's going to take them 6 months to pay off. 6 months. And then what happens after they pay it off the 6 months? They start putting stuff on Christmas layaway in July. That don't make sense. So everything you're doing is for one day that the kid won't even pay attention to. It won't make no sense for them. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Amen.
Get out of debt. Stop living above your means. Stop buying, you got $100,000 Mercedes in front of a $20,000 apartment. That is stupid.
Amen.
$800 a month. Some of us are spending as much on our car note as we are on our rent or mortgage. That's foolish. Get what you can afford.
Say it, Pastor.
Some people can't come to church because, Pastor, I got to work overtime. Why are you working overtime? Because I got these bills. Why you got them bills? I can show you better than I can tell you. But that's where we are. And that is the society that we live in. We are buying all of this stuff that we cannot afford so that we can keep up with somebody who we don't like.
Say it again. Say it again.
You are spending money to keep up with people who you don't even like. Most people are trying to keep up with the Joneses. But you don't like them, but you don't want them to look better than you. And because they're talking about you, you want to give them something to talk about, so you want to live better than they living. And all y'all broke. The Joneses, the Johnsons, the Adams, the Marks, broke. I asked my daughters, baby, this is what y'all finna, or daddy, we gotta pay insurance. That's all y'all paying. How y'all still broke? Well, see, we had the boba, and anyway, you all, we're doing too much, and we're not paying attention to our finances. So we go in debt, and it causes us to live a certain kind of way that we cannot. We cannot do what God is telling us to do. If it's God's money, how many of us, before we do anything with God's money, pray about what should we do with it? So you already. Stop being messy. Debt has a negative impact on relationship. It increases stress, which contributes to mental, physical, and emotional fatigue. God talks about the man with 1 talent, 2 talent, and 5 talents. The owner gave him the money. And then he left and came back and said, what did you do with my money? One dude said, I took 5... One of the drug dealers said, I took 5 rocks and made 10 rocks out of it. The other dude said, I had 2 rocks and I made 4 rocks out of it. The other dude said, I had a rock, but I knew I didn't want to go to jail, so I hid that rock. And when you came back, I gave you your rock back. Get it out of my possession.
You're welcome.
God says, I've given you money and talents. And what did you do with them? And one said, I doubled it. I went from 5 to 10. The other one said, I went from 2 to 4. The other one said, hey, I didn't do nothing with your money. I didn't think you was a good dude with money. So to make sure you didn't get mad at me, I just hid it and I gave it back to you. He said, well, if you didn't think I was good with my money, at the very least, you should have put it in the bank and got some interest and gave it back to me with interest. But he said you was wicked and slothful. So what is he saying? What are you doing with my money? If you got my money, you need to be investing it properly. Before you take God's money and spend it on something, ask him for his permission. And be okay with him saying, no, don't do this with my money, before you start getting beside yourself talking about, well, I'm the one who went to work for it. Hey, he can fix that. Get beside yourself with God's money talking about how it's yours. And see if he don't put you in your place. Okay, you can be sick for the next month. Emerson is getting ready to sell 1,500 jobs in St. Louis, particularly Ferguson, gone. Chrysler, bye. Ford plant, bye. St. Louis thought they were untouchable. They had Chrysler plants, Ford plants, just like it was in Detroit. And what happened? Gone. McDonnell Douglas, don't think that it can't move. Boeing can go anywhere. Emerson is one of the biggest. They've been here since the inception, 1895. I didn't even know they had electricity in 18. How is Emerson Electric in 1895 when there was no electricity?
Put them sticks together.
Hey, but they just said they selling, they leaving, gone. Anheuser-Busch is now InBev, gone. Don't get beside yourself talking about your money. God will show you in a heartbeat that it ain't yours. All right. Next principle, the principle of contentment. I believe we kind of touched bases on this. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 and 7. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, we can take nothing out of it. How do we achieve contentment when our culture and everything around us is on immediate fulfillment? Everything that we want it now. It's that is one of the most popular commercials. It's my money and I want it now. The majority of the people who win the lottery take a lump sum because they don't want nothing over time. Mm-hmm. You win $100 million. If you want it now, we'll give you $43 million and we're going to take 57 in taxes. And what do we say? Give it to me now. I would rather give you over half in taxes so that I can get the lump sum because I want it right now. You all, my wife and I love that show, The Lottery Changed My Life. And I haven't seen anybody yet who won the lottery that said, we'll take it over the natural course of time. Everybody said, no, one lump sum payment, please. You'll give over half of it away so that you can have it now. Most of us are doing things because we want it right now. The reason why they made microwaves is because nobody liked the oven. The oven takes too long. Everything we want it right now. So we get credit and we overextend ourselves so that we can have it now instead of being content with what God has given us.
So was that number 5, complexity?
That was number 5, being content. We're going to probably close on principle number 6, develop a budget. Proverbs 24:3, through wisdom is a house built, and by understanding it is established. Prayerfully submit spending decisions to the Lord. Everything we possess is owned by God. Whether you make $8,000 or $800,000 a year, a budget or spending plan helps you to make better financial decisions. Do I need it? Can I afford it? Do I need it now? When I was growing up and we were in school and we were going over our financial classes, they said to get a credit card. And back then you had to use the credit card. There wasn't no making no phone calls and giving the number onto the phone. So they said take the credit card, put it into a block of ice, put it into a can and freeze it, and then whatever you went to the store to go get, when you come back and thaw out that credit card, if you still want it by the time that card is thawed out, then you can get it. Most of us realize that we buy compulsively. We go out, we walk. Never go grocery shopping when you're hungry. Never go to the mall with a pocket full of money. There is no such thing as window shopping when you got a whole lot of money in your pocket or a new credit card. We have to be careful. Put a plan together. Budget. Learn. Save. No man builds a house without counting up the cost. He budgets. We are figuring out what is it going to take. I just asked First Lady to go through all of this and give me a budget for the year for what we do on an average on every month. What are we doing? You all do understand that the church is a business, right? You don't want us talking about money, but after people pay their tithes, if they're paying, do you know how much the church, quote unquote, profits at the end of every month? Give me a rough guess. Now we know that a lot of businesses, they their profit margin, they're making, my God, if you just look up any business what they profited in a year, Walmart and Target and even the lowest one, who Dollar General. You all, I guarantee you, if you look up what they profited last year as a corporation. My friend was the manager of Qdoba. He told me his one store profited every month somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000 just for his store. And there are 29 locations in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area. 15 to 20,000 in a month. Guess how much Jerusalem profits in a month on an average monthly basis?
About 10% of that.
2,000. 2,500.
2,000, 2,500, $500. $500 is the average that we profit after we spend and pay all of the bills. What we usually end up with at the end of the month is $500. You all remember when the air conditioner units went out? That was $6,300 to fix them. That meant the whole year profit margin was taken up plus some. But you don't want me to talk about the tithes and offering. Yeah, I feel some kind of way right now, y'all. I'm getting hot. Now, I know for a fact that God is going to take care of us. He has always taken care of us. But if Jerusalem paid tithes and offering, I'm not saying the benevolent fund, I'm not saying the building fund, I'm not talking about pastor wellness. No, if we just paid tithes and offering, we would be in a position, we could go out into this neighborhood and buy houses. In this neighborhood, and buy houses and renovate them and either put people in them or sell them and take the finances and do it all over so that this could be the avenue in which we could turn profits for the sake of putting money into our community. So when somebody called, they wouldn't have to go to heat up St. Louis. They could go to Jerusalem. And we could make sure that they had heat. We could make sure they had food to eat. We could do a drive every year and give a house away in our community. Bring your tithes and offering into the storehouse so that there will be meat in my house. How many of our own members are hurting right now financially, and we can't do nothing for them because I can't even afford to give $500 away right now? God have used tragedies in Jerusalem's history to keep us afloat. And that to me is a shame before God. When everything broke and busted and the pipes burst, God gave us favor. And they gave us $25,000 or $30,000 to fix the stuff up. And people came through and donated their time and their expertise, and friends of mine who had construction businesses came over and redid all of the flooring and everything else and said, Pastor, I'm not charging you nothing. When all the water went into the furnace and blew it out, they said it was going to cost us $7,500 to fix it. A man said, Pastor, I can do it for you for $500. So that gave us then $12,000 or whatever that we had left over, which allowed us to get screens for the sanctuary. And we wait till Black Friday sale so that we can get a screen to put in here. And instead of paying somebody to come and do the work, I'm going to come in here this week and scrape this wall down and do all of this stuff so that we can have things nice, but at a low cost. There is no reason. I can't ask nobody else to come and work for free. Well, Pastor, you know, the way my account is set up, you know, and I would. I really would. I would come out and I would do it with you. I would. I don't even ask because I don't feel like hearing it. Man, excuses is like roaches. They run all over the place. Not that I know about roaches. I don't get it wrong. I graduated from that. You all, but we need to get better. We need to get an understanding. And a lot of these things you all can look up for yourself. I'm not giving you all any information that you can't Google or whatever. Somebody asked me some years ago about they wanted to. We had the financial conference. I forgot what was it called. My first year as pastor, we wasn't going to do a revival. We were going to do the financial leadership conference. The people didn't want to come to the financial leadership conference. Then 6 months later, they came to me and said, we are paying to do the seminar with Dave Ramsey, and we would like to bring that teaching to the church. Would you allow us to teach it? I said, no. Why would I? You didn't even come to the leadership conference that we had, that we put on, that we brought all of the resources in, but you went to somebody else and spent money on their program, and you want to bring it here? You don't even know what we taught in the seminar. Everything that you finna try to bring, we already taught it, and we did it for free, but you didn't want it. It didn't have your name on it. Everything that we're doing, I didn't pay $2,000. Well, some of the stuff I do remember when I was going through finance classes at Mizzou, but the majority of this stuff, almost everything that's in here, is Google.
Say, Pastor, would you please repeat those 6 steps again before you get off there?
What's 6 steps?
Just the 6 steps. The
All,
title.
like all the way from the front?
The title. The title.
No, she's talking about the you know, like what you just got off of.
The 6 principles.
There you go.
There you go.
Principle 1, God owns it all. Principle 2, giving is essential. Principle 3, by the way, when this show is over, you can go back and rewind it and watch it all over again instead of making me say it all over.
Who was that, Greg? That's your mother.
Principle 3. And you can go back the last 3 weeks and we done talking about the same thing. Principle 3, the Bible backs savings. Principle 4, keep out of debt. Principle 5, the secret of contentment. Stop laughing, First Lady. And principle 6. Y'all, I missed principle 6. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Principle 6, develop a budget.
Yeah. She said, "What's number 4?"
You a prick of more, please. What was one again? Slow down. Speak up. Put the mic to your face.
That was that. Oh man, I went to the bathroom.
My screen froze up.
Repeat that one last time.
All right, I finally got a pen. Can you say that all over again?
Son.
All right, listen. You all, I love preaching the word of God. I love it. Most people don't understand that God created everything. So money He created. The ability to get the money and the finances. God created all of this. And this is the part that excites me because this is the part that I think that most of us don't get. So I'm asking you to please come back to Bible study next week. Why not next week?
Because of voting, right?
Oh, that's right there. We're canceling.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. We're canceling Bible study next week, November the 8th, especially I know here in Missouri and the St. Louis region, it's voting. There are a lot of people who are going to be getting off of work, and those voting lines, hopefully, will be long. If it's long, that means that we have actually went out and exercised our right to vote. Brothers and sisters, exercise your right to vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I don't care who you vote for. I just care that you exercise your right to vote. Because your money matters. Your money matters has a whole lot to do with who you vote for. Huh? This is congressional. This is what's happening in Congress. This is our state representatives. These are our senators. These are where our tax dollars is going to. Our auditors and all of that. Everybody wants to go and vote for the president. Let me tell you something. The president ain't got nothing really to do with what's going on with your money. Your senators and your state reps is happening on the local level. That's where your money is going to. That's who's increasing your taxes and all of that, and where your tax dollars are going to, and why you are able to get a job in your area. It ain't the president. It's the senators and the congressmen and the governors. That's where you need to be voting at, in your local elections. So on November 8th, please go out and vote. Register. Brothers and sisters, there is a reason why black people make up 13.7% of the United States. But we are what? 35 or 40% represented in prison? And then they say, in some states, if you are a felon, they take away your right to vote. If you paid your debt to society, why would they take away your right to vote? Because they're trying to keep black folks out of power. You all need to wise up and realize, why are they crunching the black vote? Black people went out and voted in 2020 in numbers that they had never seen before. And as soon as they did that, they decided to gerrymander the maps where black people could vote at now. They're changing the rules. All of a sudden, why? Because you showed up. Follow the rich white man. Follow the money. If you follow them, everybody right now, Republicans and Democrats are talking about we are here for the middle class. They ain't seen the middle class in decades. Our president keeps talking about his father when he was at the table. Man, your daddy ain't been at the table in 60 years. You got houses all over the place. Even Bernie Sanders, who says, I want to share all the wealth. Okay, send him a letter saying, can you send me $25 to see what he say? If he want to share all the money, he ain't sharing his. Don't get me started. I'm following him. I'm following where the money at. You spend all of your money to go out and get contracts and all of that, and then you can't get a contract. The reason why you can't get anything is because your credit score. But why is your credit score so low? How can other people get credit and you can't get credit? How is it the people who need the credit the most gets the least of it, which makes the person who has the least credit have to spend more than the person who got the most money? So the person with the 800 score is making $800,000, but they spend $20,000 on the vehicle. But the person with a 500 score makes $25,000, and you have to spend $800 on the vehicle because your interest rates are so high. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. Y'all better go vote. Huh? When you turn 18, register and go vote. Any questions? Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, huh? All right.
It was 6 steps and she didn't get number 3. It was going in and out.
You know what? You're going to stop lying in the children's church. All right, you all, thank you for coming. Come out week after next on the 15th. Come out week after next. Bring somebody. Let's educate our own people. Please. Again, this is not about hating anybody else. It's about loving yourself and your own. Whenever somebody talk about Black Lives Matter, somebody else say, so what, white lives don't matter? No, of course they do. But it's been the black lives that have been disintegrated for centuries. And all we're trying to do, we're not asking for more, we're asking for the same. We don't want no more, we just want what everybody else got. God bless you, God keep you as our prayers. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks.